What happens when a real estate mogul and reality TV star decides to run for the highest office in the land? It sounds impossible. Donald Trump was famous for hosting The Apprentice, shouting "You're fired" at business hopefuls on TV. He built skyscrapers, casinos, and golf courses, his name in bright gold letters on luxury hotels. Magazines wrote headlines about his lavish lifestyle and bold statements. No one took him seriously in politics. Yet in June 2015, Trump announced his candidacy for president. Critics laughed, commentators scoffed, polls showed him near the bottom of the field. But Trump spoke in a way that cut through the noise. He used simple phrases: "Make America great again." He promised to bring back jobs, cut taxes, and build a wall. He talked directly to people who felt left behind. Crowds began to cheer. Social media lit up with his speeches. News channels covered his rallies non-stop. His blunt style, often called rude, felt honest to many voters. He broke every rule of polite politics. He insulted opponents, challenged reporters, and boasted about his own success. Meanwhile, rival candidates stuck to rehearsed talking points. By early 2016, Trump had done the unthinkable. He won the Republican nomination, defeating over a dozen seasoned politicians. Then in November, he faced Hillary Clinton, a former First Lady and senator with decades of political experience. Polls gave Hillary the lead, predicting her victory. But on election night, Trump stunned the world. He won key swing states Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and crossed the 270 electoral vote mark needed to win. On January 20, 2017, Donald Trump stood before a cheering crowd in Washington, D.C., and took the presidential oath of office. On that day, the world realized that a man who once declared bankruptcy, mocked opponents on reality TV, and filled tabloids with gossip headlines had become the 45th President of the United States. This dramatic turnaround from boardrooms and sound stages to the Oval Office shows how powerful branding, bold messaging, and a direct connection with voters can reshape politics. In the next part, we will trace how Trump built his empire, honed his celebrity image, and used both to launch a campaign that broke every rule and rewrote the playbook for modern elections. Before Donald Trump ever stepped onto the political stage, he was already a household name, a businessman who turned his brand into a symbol of luxury, power, and controversy. His journey began in Queens, New York, born into a family that ran a successful real estate business. But Trump wasn't content with building homes in the outer boroughs. He had his eyes set on Manhattan, where the city's skyline reflected ambition and prestige. In the 1980s, he took bold risks. Trump purchased the aging Commodore Hotel and turned it into the glittering Grand Hyatt. Then came Trump Tower, a glass skyscraper on Fifth Avenue that shouted his name in gold. He became a master of spectacle, understanding how media could turn buildings into billboards and business deals into headlines. He hosted press events like movie premieres, making sure every camera caught the Trump brand. But his rise wasn't without turbulence. Trump ventured into Atlantic City casinos, airlines, and even tried buying a football team. Not all of it worked. He faced bankruptcies more than once. Yet, he always bounced back, often saying, "I'm not afraid of losing because I always come back stronger." He spun failure into narrative fuel, painting himself as a fighter who never quits. The 2000s introduced Trump to a new audience, reality TV. With The Apprentice, he crafted a larger-than-life version of himself, a decisive, commanding boss who made people compete for success. The catchphrase "You're fired" became iconic, and Trump became a global celebrity. Millions watched him every week. He wasn't just a businessman anymore. He was an entertainer, a symbol of bold leadership. Even as that image was carefully designed for the screen. What many didn't expect was how these experiences, branding, showmanship, surviving scandal, were preparing him for something bigger. He studied attention, understood headlines, and knew how to control the story. While politicians played it safe, Trump had already mastered the art of disruption. He saw that in a media-saturated world, controversy didn't ruin you, it made you unforgettable. So, by the time he descended the golden escalator at Trump Tower in 2015 to announce his presidential run, he wasn't just entering politics. He was bringing his entire playbook with him: bold claims, clear slogans, relentless confidence, and an unshakable sense of identity. For millions of Americans who felt overlooked by traditional leaders, he wasn't just a billionaire or TV star. He was someone who said what he believed loudly. And that more than money, fame, or policy became the core of his appeal. When Donald Trump officially entered the 2016 US presidential race, the world watched in disbelief. Political analysts dismissed his campaign as a publicity stunt. Late-night hosts made jokes. Even many Republicans didn't take him seriously. But behind this showmanship, something real was happening. His message, "Make America Great Again," resonated with a large portion of the American public. He spoke in plain language, promised jobs, tough borders, and said he would drain the political swamp. And unlike traditional politicians, he didn't apologize for controversy, he leaned into it. His rallies drew enormous crowds, not just because of policy, but because of spectacle. He turned political events into entertainment. He insulted opponents, gave them nicknames, clashed with journalists, and broke every rule in the political playbook. And somehow, it worked. Millions of voters felt that he was speaking for them loud, raw, and unfiltered. They weren't looking for polished. They were looking for different. Then came November 8, 2016. Against almost every prediction, Donald Trump was elected the 45th President of the United States. It was one of the most stunning political upsets in modern history. The businessman, reality TV star, and outsider had defeated one of the most experienced politicians in the country. The country was split, some were elated, others were shocked, but no one could ignore what had just happened. As president, Trump's leadership style mirrored his campaign: aggressive, disruptive, and always in the spotlight. He tweeted daily, often stirring headlines. He rewrote the way a president communicated. His policies sparked debate around the world, from immigration bans to trade wars, tax cuts to withdrawing from international agreements. Supporters praised him for keeping promises. Critics feared he was dividing the nation. Then came 2020, a year that tested everything: a global pandemic, economic crisis, racial tensions, and an explosive presidential election. Trump's handling of COVID-19 became a defining issue. Some admired his push to reopen the economy. Others believed he failed to take the virus seriously. The nation became even more polarized. In November 2020, Trump lost his bid for re-election, but the story didn't end there. He challenged the results, claiming fraud, fueling weeks of controversy that ended in the storming of the US Capitol January 6, 2021, a moment that shook the country to its core. Trump was impeached for a second time, making history once again. Yet, through all the chaos and criticism, one thing remained clear: Donald Trump had redefined what it meant to be a modern political figure. Whether loved or loathed, he was impossible to ignore. He changed the tone, the style, and the rules. And even after leaving office, his influence still shapes American politics and public conversation. His journey is not just a story of success or failure. It's a story of disruption, of how one man turned the system upside down and left the world wondering what might come next. He left the White House in 2021, but Donald Trump never truly stepped away from the spotlight. Unlike most former presidents, he didn't fade quietly into private life. Instead, he kept holding rallies, launched his own social media platform, and hinted again and again at a political comeback. His name continued to dominate headlines, inspire loyalty, and provoke fierce opposition. Supporters see him as a fighter who stood up to the political establishment, spoke uncomfortable truths, and prioritized American interests over global approval. To them, he is a symbol of strength, proof that an outsider can shake the system. Critics, on the other hand, view his legacy as deeply divisive. They blame him for increasing political tension, spreading misinformation, and undermining democratic norms. Yet, regardless of which side you stand on, one fact is undeniable: Donald Trump reshaped modern politics. He made millions feel heard and just as many feel unheard. He taught the world that charisma and controversy could be as powerful as policy and planning. That in the age of media and spectacle, perception often matters more than tradition. Trump's journey from a flashy businessman to reality TV icon, from underestimated candidate to President of the United States, is one of the most unpredictable stories in political history. And it may not be over. With talk of a 2024 run and continued influence over the Republican Party, his impact is still unfolding. What can we learn from this story? Maybe it's that leadership comes in many forms, that the voice of the people is powerful, sometimes louder than polls, experts, or expectations. And that in a rapidly changing world, disruption is no longer the exception, it's becoming the rule. I have 3 special questions for you. 1. Do you think Donald Trump changed politics forever? Or was he just a moment in history? 2. What does his story say about the power of media and personality in modern leadership? 3. Should political experience matter more than connection with the public? Why or why not?
If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me make more stories for you.